You switch off the bedside lamp, and the room settles into quiet. The day's conversations fade. The last glow beneath the bedroom door disappears. You pull the blanket a little higher, nestle your head into the pillow, and slowly roll onto the side that feels most comfortable. Within moments, your breathing becomes steadier. Your muscles loosen. Everything seems perfectly still. It feels like the day has finally ended. Yet beneath that feeling of peaceful rest, your body is anything but inactive. Long before you drift into deep sleep, gravity has already begun its silent work. Without making a sound or causing any sensation you can notice, it gently shifts the position of your heart, your lungs, your stomach, and the other organs resting inside your chest and abdomen. Nothing dramatic happens all at once. Instead, tiny changes begin accumulating, minute after minute, hour after hour. You don't feel those adjustments. Most people never do. That's precisely why they rarely think about them. Night after night, the same quiet process repeats itself. Not once or twice, but hundreds of times every year. Your body continues making countless small adaptations while your conscious mind is completely absent, responding to the simple direction of gravity as faithfully as it responds to every heartbeat and every breath. This isn't something to fear, it's simply part of being human. The remarkable part is that one ordinary choice you make almost automatically each evening may subtly influence how comfortably several of those systems work until morning. Which raises an intriguing question. If lying on your left side and your right side often feel almost identical, why do doctors and sleep specialists sometimes recommend one position over another? That question has led to decades of advice, countless opinions, and more than a few misunderstandings. Many people believe sleeping position only matters if you wake with a stiff neck or an aching shoulder. Others invest in expensive pillows, adjustable beds, or specialized mattresses, hoping the right product will solve every nighttime problem. Then there are those who simply trust comfort above all else, assuming the position that feels best must automatically be the healthiest. Each of those ideas contains a small piece of the truth. Comfortable support does matter. Proper neck alignment matters. The quality of your mattress can certainly affect sleep. But none of those explanations answer the deeper question of what is actually happening inside your body while you remain completely unaware. The real story isn't hiding inside a pillow or built into the latest sleep technology. It begins with something much older and far more reliable than any product you could buy. It begins with your own anatomy. The shape of your stomach, the location of your heart, the way your lungs expand, the path blood follows through your body, even the direction gravity gently pulls while you sleep. Almost nobody talks about those details, even though they influence you every single night. And that may be the most surprising part of all. You already have everything you need to apply this knowledge. No gadgets, no complicated routines, no expensive upgrades. Just a better understanding of the body you've lived in your entire life. The answer isn't as simple as choosing one side over the other. Context matters. Biology matters. Before explaining which position may help and when, it helps to understand why this topic has become so confusing in the first place. That confusion isn't an accident. Over the past few years, social media has turned sleeping position into another collection of simple health rules that sound convincing because they're easy to remember. You've probably heard statements like, always sleep on your left side, never sleep on your right, back sleeping is dangerous, or even, this one position fixes everything from digestion to heart health. The problem is that your body doesn't operate according to catchy slogans. I find that kind of advice frustrating, not because sleeping position is unimportant, but because it truly is important. When complex biology is reduced to a single sentence, the explanation disappears. Without understanding why something might help, it's impossible to know whether it actually applies to you. Your body is a network of connected systems. Gravity changes the position of your stomach. That can influence the movement of stomach acid. Your lungs expand differently depending on posture. Blood returning to your heart follows physical laws, not internet trends. Pressure shifts across your shoulders, spine, and hips throughout the night. Breathing patterns can even change with the way your airway is supported. None of these systems exist in isolation, and none can be explained honestly with a universal rule. This is why doctors sometimes give different advice to different patients. Someone living with nighttime acid reflux may benefit from one position, while a person with shoulder arthritis, sleep apnea, heart failure, or chronic back pain may need a different approach. The recommendation changes because the biology changes. The real physiology is far more interesting than the viral advice, and most videos skip it entirely. They tell you what to do without showing you the invisible chain of events happening inside your body while you sleep. That chain is exactly what we're going to explore together, because once you understand the mechanisms, the recommendations begin to make sense. So let's leave internet opinions behind and look at what gravity actually does inside your body after you fall asleep. If you enjoy understanding health by seeing how the body actually works instead of simply memorizing rules, this is exactly what this channel is built around. Every conversation begins with everyday experiences, then follows the science step by step until the advice makes sense on its own. There are no miracle shortcuts, dramatic promises, or confusing wellness trends to keep up with. Just careful explanations designed to help you make informed decisions with greater confidence. If that approach feels valuable, you might consider staying with us, because we'll continue exploring the ordinary habits that quietly shape health as we grow older. Many of the most meaningful changes happen in places most people never think to look, and this is one of them. Now let's follow what actually happens during the first few minutes after you fall asleep. The moment you fall asleep, your body doesn't become inactive. It changes priorities. Instead of coordinating movement, conversation, and attention, it shifts its energy toward repair, regulation, and recovery. Most healthy adults need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep each night, according to major sleep organizations, and during that time, gravity never takes a break. Your organs continue responding to it every second. It begins with simple anatomy. Your heart isn't centered perfectly in your chest. Your stomach doesn't sit directly beneath it. Your liver occupies far more space on the right side than many people realize. When you roll from one side to the other, those organs aren't sliding freely, but their relationships change subtly because their weight rests differently against surrounding tissues. That becomes especially important for your stomach. A typical adult stomach comfortably holds around 1 liter of food and liquid after a meal, although it can stretch much further when necessary. At its upper end sits the lower esophageal sphincter, a ring of muscle that acts like a valve between the stomach and the esophagus. The esophagus is simply the tube carrying food from your mouth to your stomach. When this valve stays closed, stomach acid remains where it belongs. Gravity can either help or challenge that valve. Depending on your sleeping position, stomach contents may rest farther below it or place greater pressure against it. For people living with gastroesophageal reflux disease, often called GERD, this difference can matter. GERD affects roughly 1 in 5 adults in many Western countries, and its prevalence increases with age. A few centimeters of anatomical change may influence whether acid remains in the stomach or moves upward, irritating the esophagus during the night. The chain doesn't stop there. Just above the stomach sits the diaphragm, the broad muscle separating your chest from your abdomen. Every day you take roughly 20,000 breaths, and this muscle performs most of the work without asking for your attention. During sleep, its movement remains steady, but body position can slightly influence how comfortably your lungs expand, particularly if one side of the chest experiences greater pressure than the other. Your heart is working continuously as well, pumping approximately 5 liters of blood every minute while you rest. Blood returning to the heart through the veins is called venous return. In simple terms, it's the circulation making its way back before being pumped out again. Body position creates small differences in pressure throughout the chest and abdomen, which may subtly influence how efficiently that return occurs. Healthy bodies usually adapt remarkably well, but certain medical conditions can make these changes more meaningful. Then there is another system receiving growing scientific attention. During sleep, activity within the brain's glymphatic system appears to increase. Researchers believe this network helps move fluid through brain tissue, supporting the removal of metabolic waste that accumulates while you're awake. Although scientists are still learning exactly how sleeping position influences this process, the research reminds us that sleep is an active biological event, not simply a period of unconsciousness. Meanwhile, your muscles, joints, and nerves continue responding to pressure. Remaining on one side for hours can compress the shoulder, temporarily reducing blood flow to nearby tissues and placing pressure on nerves, which helps explain why some people wake with tingling or numbness in an arm. Spinal alignment matters too. When the neck, shoulders, hips, and knees remain reasonably supported, muscles spend less energy resisting awkward positions and more time recovering from the day's work. Night after night, these tiny differences accumulate. None of them act alone, yet together they reveal something remarkably simple. Sleeping position matters because anatomy matters. And understanding that biology also explains why one common bedtime habit often works against the body. Once you understand what is happening beneath the surface, a common bedtime habit begins to look very different. Most people choose the position that feels comfortable during the first few minutes after lying down, and that decision is completely understandable. Comfort is immediate. Biology is invisible. You might settle onto the shoulder that aches the least without thinking about how your stomach is positioned. You may fall asleep with one arm tucked beneath your body because it feels natural, only to wake hours later with tingling fingers or a numb hand. Perhaps you remain in the same position for most of the night because you never fully wake to adjust. If occasional heartburn appears before breakfast, it's easy to dismiss it as something you ate, rather than something that continued while you slept. None of those choices mean you've done anything wrong. They simply reflect the information most people have been given. If you've always been told that sleep position is mainly about comfort, why would you look any deeper? But your body does. Gravity continues working whether you're aware of it or not. Pressure on a shoulder continues building. The lower esophageal sphincter continues responding to the position of your stomach. Your lungs continue expanding thousands of times before morning arrives. Every night becomes another 7 to 9 hours during which these small mechanical forces quietly influence your body's recovery. Many people wake with stiffness, mild reflux, or an aching shoulder without realizing those experiences may be connected by the same underlying anatomy. Comfort still matters, but lasting comfort often comes from working with your biology, instead of asking your biology to adapt indefinitely. That naturally leads to another question. If the science is this nuanced, where did the idea that one sleeping side is universally good or bad come from? The idea that everyone should sleep on the left side didn't appear out of nowhere. It grew from genuine research and well-intentioned medical advice. Studies have shown that many people with gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, experience fewer nighttime symptoms when sleeping on their left side. Similar recommendations are often made during pregnancy because that position can support circulation in ways that are beneficial for both mother and baby. Certain cardiovascular conditions may also lead physicians to recommend specific sleeping positions based on an individual's needs. The problem began when those carefully targeted recommendations escaped their original context. As they spread across websites and social media, an important detail quietly disappeared. Advice meant for particular situations gradually became advice for everyone. That is where the science and the headlines begin to part ways. Organizations such as the American Gastroenterological Association and the American Academy of Sleep Medicine consistently emphasize that sleep recommendations should be guided by the condition being treated, not by universal rules. Peer-reviewed sleep research points in the same direction. Left-side sleeping may reduce reflux for many people, but someone coping with shoulder arthritis, certain forms of heart failure, obstructive sleep apnea, spinal pain, or another medical condition may require a different strategy. The healthiest position is the one that best supports your own anatomy and health, not someone else's. That isn't a contradiction. It's exactly how medicine works. Good healthcare recognizes that people are different, even when they share similar symptoms. Instead of asking, Which side is always best? A more useful question is, which position best supports my body and my health? That small shift in thinking replaces rigid rules with informed decisions. And once you begin looking at sleep through that lens, the next step becomes surprisingly simple. So how can you use all of this information tonight without making sleep more complicated? Now you have the foundation to make a decision based on biology instead of guesswork. Begin by asking yourself one simple question. What is the main problem you're trying to solve? Is it frequent nighttime reflux, shoulder pain, sleep apnea, lower back discomfort, or simply waking feeling stiff? The answer should guide your starting point. If acid reflux is your biggest concern, many people experience fewer nighttime symptoms by sleeping on their left side and avoiding lying down for at least 2 to 3 hours after a heavy meal. If shoulder discomfort develops, don't force yourself to remain on one side all night. Alternate sides when needed, because prolonged pressure can eventually create its own problems. Choose a pillow that keeps your neck aligned with your spine, rather than bending your head upward or allowing it to drop. If you sleep on your side, placing a pillow between your knees can help keep your hips and lower back in a more neutral position. Give your body time to adjust. A new sleeping position may feel unfamiliar for several nights before it begins to feel natural. Keep your bedtime reasonably consistent, allowing your body's internal clock to support deeper, more restorative sleep. One important note deserves careful attention. If you have heart failure, chronic kidney disease, severe sleep apnea, significant spinal disorders, recent surgery, or another complex medical condition, this conversation is best continued with your healthcare professional. Different conditions sometimes require different positioning strategies, and personalized advice is always more valuable than a universal recommendation. A small adjustment tonight may influence thousands of hours of sleep over the years ahead. Now think back to where we began. Think back to that quiet bedroom where we began. The lamp is off, the room is still. You smooth the blanket, adjust your pillow, and settle onto your side once again. The scene hasn't changed, but your understanding has. What once felt like an automatic habit has become a thoughtful decision informed by the way your body is built. No sleeping position can promise perfect health, and no single recommendation fits every person. Yet choosing a position that works with your own anatomy instead of against it can reduce unnecessary strain while your body spends the night repairing, restoring, and preparing for another day. The most powerful part isn't what happens tonight alone. It's what happens because this choice repeats itself roughly 365 nights every year. Small adjustments made consistently often have the greatest opportunity to shape long-term well-being. You don't need to chase complicated solutions. Sometimes the quietest habits deserve the closest attention. And if understanding everyday biology helps you make better health decisions, there's one final thought. Thank you for spending these minutes with me. Your body performs extraordinary work every hour of every day, and the more you understand how those systems function, the easier it becomes to make decisions with confidence instead of relying on headlines or trends. That has always been the purpose of this channel, not to tell you what to think, but to help you understand why your body responds the way it does. If this kind of evidence-based explanation is useful to you, and you enjoy exploring health through anatomy, physiology, and carefully interpreted research, you may want to stay with us. We'll continue looking at the everyday habits that quietly influence how we age, separating simple myths from the science that helps them make sense. There are many ordinary choices that most people overlook because no one ever explains the biology behind them. Yet those small, repeated decisions often become the foundation of long-term health. Until next time, take good care of yourself, stay curious, and remember that understanding your biology is one of the most practical investments you can make in your future well-being.